Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I'm reporting here from AR headquarters to tell you about the brilliance of the Mark I tank. The Mark I tank was used during the First World War and was the first ever tank to be used in war by the British during the Battle of Flers-Courcelette. During this battle, only 25 of the 49 tanks were actually deployed, moving forward at the start of the attack. The Mark I tank was built for crushing barbed wire in its way, stopping machine guns and artillery, and putting a stop to the common trench warfare. The beginning of these tanks were slow and unreliable. Though they needed much improvement, it still set the stage for armored warfare and will always be an important part of all wars. Today we're going to look at who was involved with the Mark I tank in World War I. The British Mark I tank was made in 1916 by David Fletcher and Tony Bryan. It was used to help fight against trench warfare. One important person was Ernest Swinton, who helped come up with the ideas for the tanks. There were also engineers and workers in Britain who designed and built the tanks. British soldiers were the ones who actually used the tanks in battle. They had to learn to drive and control them, even though they were slow, hot, and hard to use. German soldiers were also involved because they had to fight against the tanks, even though they didn't have their own tanks at first. Overall, the Mark I tank involved inventors, builders, and soldiers from both sides, all playing a role in this weapon. Now we are going to talk about what the Mark I tank was and what it did during World War I. The Mark I tank was the first ever tank used in war. It was a large, armored vehicle designed to move across rough land and go over trenches, barbed wire, and other obstacles. It was created to solve the problem of trench warfare, where soldiers were stuck and couldn't move forward easily. The tank helped soldiers advance by protecting them from enemy fire while breaking through defenses. The Mark I was slow and had many problems, like breaking down and getting stuck, but it was still important because it introduced a new type of weapon. Overall, the Mark I tank was a new, powerful machine that changed how wars were fought.
Now we're going to talk about where and when the Mark I tank was used during World War I. The Mark I tank was first used by the British Army in 1916 during the Battle of Somme, France. This battle took place on the Western Front, which is where most of the fighting between Britain, France, and Germany happened. The tanks were used in muddy, dangerous conditions filled with trenches, barbed wire, and craters from explosions. These conditions made it very hard for soldiers to move, which is why the tank was created. Even though only a small number of tanks were used at first, this moment was important because it was the first time tanks were ever used in battle. In the end, the Mark I tank was used on the Western Front in Europe during 1916, changing how battles were fought during World War I.
The Mark I tank was a major turning point in the history of the military. The tank stopped the slow-paced war strategy of trench warfare, which included machine guns, artillery, and barbed wire, which made advancing nearly impossible while still getting positive results. The advancement of the Mark I tank slowly decreased the use of trenches in war. The British are significantly credited for building and improving on the early model of the Mark I tank. The Mark I tank went through 5 different phases, with the 4th and 5th really being used in battle and becoming very effective. Though the original Mark I tank had many problems, it proved that armored warfare could be a reliable and trusted way of attack in many wars to come, with its ability to cross muddy trenches, crush barbed wire, and protect infantry from machine gun fire. Ladies and gentlemen, this now concludes our news report. Aiden Obojuro and Ryan Leatherman now reporting out from
AR headquarters.
Until next time, goodbye everyone.